Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to our channel. It is your girl Karen Sawyer. Welcome if this is your first time, and welcome back if you're returning. And today I'm here with my sidekick,
Mark.
and we have had a few people ask us what is the secrets to a successful marriage. So, for those that are just getting to our channel, we have been together for 31 years, married for 29, 5 children later. And so, we're going to just give you our perspective and what we feel has been the key. So, wow, I can tell you from my perspective, it's a lot of finding grace for the other person as well as for yourself, because you're two imperfect human beings trying to get it perfect. And if you're trying to get it perfect, you're going to always miss the mark. So I would say that you have to learn patience and give yourself grace as well as your partner. You have to learn to, when I say that, that means you're going to have to learn to forgive. Now, I didn't say forget, but I would say forgive and let things go. Because if you don't, it's not going to be helpful. And so the key in doing that, however, because it's easier said than done, is communication. So, what do you have to say with regard to that, as far as the forgiveness, giving someone grace, and having the communication? What do you have to say?
Well, absolutely is a huge part of it. Communication, was been thinking and running through some things that's very high on my list, because there's no one secret to any of this. It takes a whole lot of things, and it takes learning new things. What worked when you first met? When I first met, I'd never met anybody like you. I just, felt like I could tell you anything without judgment, share everything. I wanted to share everything. And you're together, you're together for a while, and then life happens. And this little thing gets in the way of something, and then this, and then they start building on each other. So it takes communication. When those barriers start building up, it takes work to knock them back down. Whatever barriers there may be or difficulties between one another, but that open line of communication. And to me, what that means is that there's a couple of things that I always try to do. Number one, in the 31 years that I've known you, it has never been clear to me that men and women think totally differently about almost every damn thing.
Yes.
So what I'm getting to is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. So I try to do that as much as I possibly can. It's not the easiest thing to do, to keep in the forefront of your brain. But if you can think about those things before you do things and say, I wonder if that'll be acceptable, or I wonder if that's something that she'll want to do, or I wonder if that's how she would handle it. I think that's really important part. I believe that one of the first things you and I did that has helped us, simply because of the way we met, is I think we became very good friends before anything else happened. And I think that has served us well, because I believe that probably before we loved each other, we generally liked each other, and we enjoyed each other's company.
Absolutely.
So I think that has helped us in our journey to go back to that when we need to. So I have a lot more to say, but I think I'm going on and on. If there's anything else you want to add.
Don't lose your thought though. So with regard to that, I would say definitely that's also one of the keys, is that you truly have a friendship. And you often say to me, you're my best friend, but you too are my best friend, meaning I know that I can lean on you. always will have my back. So there is never a question. You've always been in my corner, one of my biggest supporters. So I would definitely agree that the friendship absolutely, absolutely is one of the keys. And back to, again, the communication. I started off by saying grace, giving someone else grace. And in doing that, there requires a lot of communication. But I also want to say a closed mouth doesn't get fed, and no one can read your mind. So you have to communicate what you want. You can't give clues and you're sitting and you're sulking because they're not giving you what you need. Well, you need to ask for what you need. Again, no one can read your mind, and a closed mouth doesn't get fed, and you have not because you ask not. So you have to get comfortable with stating what you need. And that's, so again, that's back to communication. So you were going to then say, because you said you felt like you were.
No, but something else that you just said. One of the things you have to learn to be comfortable with is being uncomfortable sometimes. Because you know, whether it's admitting you're wrong, whether it's no matter what it is. I mean, there are just times in marriage you go through every range of emotion.
But sometimes you might not even be wrong. Sometimes it's about sacrifice and meeting someone halfway for the sake of trying to clear the air and trying to move beyond so you don't get stuck. So sometimes it's not even about being right or wrong. It's about meeting someone halfway. Or sometimes you might decide, you know what? It's not that important to me. So you know what? I'm going to give on this one. I'm going to be flexible. I'm going to let them, have it the way they want it, because it's not that important to me. Sometimes you don't want to get caught up and, in the struggle for the sake of you getting your way, if it's not that important. You have to choose your battles. That's what I'm alluding to. Choosing your battles. Sometimes it's not that important. Just whatever.
Yeah, I'll say it a little differently because it's also something else that I was thinking of. You truly have to learn how to put somebody else before you. Put them first. And that happens or needs to happen in a marriage, I believe. But it also, for anybody that is not, or if you are, when you become parents, man, if you do it right, then you're normally putting your kids before your needs almost all the time. So that's something that you learn as well. But, I think one of the other things too that has helped is, as well as being married, but with raising children, is putting together a united front.
Yes.
There are going to be times, and I had to learn some of this through family experiences, some not so nice family experiences, and whatever it is, whether it's friendship, whether it's there are all kind of people out there that look at some people's relationships and they just have to stick their hands in it and stick their nose in it in their business. Some of it's jealousy, some of it's whatever it is. But having that united front, you can't be running and with comments of this person. You got to stand strong. And with regards to raising children, I think that's one of the things that we've done. There are a lot of households where the kids can run from one to the other and they know how to play them against each other. It's pretty easy if you make decisions together. And I think that's something that we've done in terms of raising children as well. And raising, let's face it, as far as I'm concerned, being able to, if you're having children, being able to raise children together can cause conflict if you let it. But having that united front helps to have, us on the same page.
Yes, meaning don't lose sight of your relationship when it comes to the children. You have to, like you said, have that united front. And I wanted to say also about you talking about, I forgot exactly how you said it, but it's about give and take. It's not going to always be 50-50. And I think that's where people get it wrong. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40. Sometimes it's going to be 70-30. Again, some things it's not even worth the battle. You just say, you know what? I choose, right? Because sometimes that's the way you win. Some things, again, it's about choosing your battles, and it's not going to always be 50-50, and I wanted to explain it. But it should not always be, 70 on the one side and 30 on the other, because then you lose sight of yourself. But it's not going to always be balanced. Okay? So I just wanted to say that. And so we've said about, finding grace for someone, having the communication, being friends. And then what else did you want to say?
Well, I think it's important to verbalize it, because a lot of people don't necessarily feel this way. But when you are having issues, you can talk to other people. And when I say talk to other people, maybe it's conversations with, I call it counseling, but maybe it's with friends, maybe it's with family. And there are times that maybe it is with somebody, with a professional. We don't always have all the answers. And we don't always see the same things through the same lenses. So getting somebody else's opinion, whether it's a coach, a counselor, whatever word you want to use, I think it's important to be open to that and to hear what some other people might say.
I don't know if I agree with that totally. I agree with a part of it. I would agree with, professional, so a pastor, a therapist, a marriage counselor, or sometimes you don't even want them. Sometimes it's not even about the marriage counselor, it's about counseling for yourself. But I think you have to be very careful as to what friends you choose to talk to. Because as you said earlier, you don't want everybody all in your business. And you have to be very, very, very mindful as to who you're taking counsel from. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it might be a family member, maybe not. Sometimes it could be, you just got to be careful. It might not. Sometimes it could be your parent, and maybe not. It just depends. Everyone hasn't had a successful relationship themselves. They don't know what a healthy relationship is. And like you said, sometimes people are jealous and envious, and you have to be really careful as to who you are getting advice from. You have to be really careful. I'm not saying that you cannot, because there might be someone that's been in a 50-year relationship, and you look up to them, and you might have something that's going on, a challenge, and you might want to go and have a conversation. But I would just say be very mindful of that. Outside of, the pastor or a marriage counselor or a therapist, if it's a friend or someone that you have marriage goals, you look up to them and you might want to go talk. I just say be very, very mindful, but don't be sticking everybody in your business, and be careful who you're seeking counsel from. And I say that because, remember, when I got married, my grandmother specifically told me, baby, don't you think you're ever stuck. Remember, the doors in divorce court are always open. What kind of advice is that? She's been married 3 times. But that's what she told me. Don't ever, because the doors in divorce court are always open.
That was her viewpoint.
That was her viewpoint. So again, I say, be mindful. Right? And then my mother's point would be, that grass always green on the side. Try to figure it out, work it out. And she had been married, twice? But that was her advice, She didn't say that her advice was a little bit different. So yeah, that's just wanted to add that. So seek counsel, be very mindful. Because we have had to do that before ourselves. Sometimes you just go through. That's the other thing. People think, oh, you're trying to get it perfect. Again, you got 2 imperfect people. You're going to have ups and downs. But it comes down to what? Your commitment. Right? You can't run every time you come across a challenge, because life be lifing. You said life happens, and you're going to have ups and downs. And so if you remember the friendship, remember your commitment, again, the communication, and having some patience and giving grace, and you can make it work. So is there anything else you would like to add to that?
I guess maybe just an observation, but I mean, you've kind of summed it up. But it's amazing, and again, I don't necessarily know how you feel about this, but when you're together as much as we've been together, it's amazing to see you take some of my qualities and I take some of your qualities. So don't ever think that people, can't make changes. We're all evolving and making changes. So the same person that you married, when it becomes a long time later, you're going to go through a lot of changes. So you have to be open to that as well, I think. And I think tolerance is a big word that you should strive for. Just always trying to be aware of what somebody else is going through. I've learned, they say there's a thin line between love and hate. I've learned that somebody being mad at you and angry with you doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you. It means that in most cases, they're hurting.
Hurts, yes.
And it took me a while to figure that out.
Yes, underneath that anger, if you start digging, the hurt.
So there's a reason for everything.
Yes.
And when you can recognize reasons and you can try to do something about it, whether it's little baby steps, whatever the case is.
Yes.
It's just an evolving situation. It's never the same. It's never the same.
Because it all comes down to love.
And it does come down to that commitment as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
everyone wants to be loved. And underneath that, if they're hurting, and that's the key, love right there. And I want to add this last thing, is that because you said this, you take on qualities of your mate because you become one. That's what they say. But don't lose sight of yourself. You become one, however, you're still two separate people. You just so happen to be working on this journey together, and you've committed in this relationship, in this journey called life. But I think don't lose sight of yourself. And I feel women do that quite often, especially when they have kids too, and their husband, they lose sight of themselves. Don't lose sight of yourself in the relationship, because there is a togetherness, there is a one, but you still have your own interest, right? You have dreams, and you have interests and hobbies. So I feel that you should keep those, so you don't become so consumed with, because that could be detrimental. Mm-hmm. And you're raising those kids. The kids gonna leave you one day. Then what? Right? Then what? Then you're like sitting there like, oh my God, what is this? What is my life? What is this about? You don't lose sight of yourself. You still can be a mother. You still could be a wife or partner. Everyone's not married. They're in a relationship. But don't lose sight of yourself. But you do become one. And like you said, you pick up, good things. Some things, I'll go back to this story. I'm going to tell you this story. We first met. We went to Shenandoah because his brother was working there, and we were sitting in the car. It's at the beginning of the relationship, so we sit and just talk for hours. We just talk for hours on the phone or in person. We're in the car in the parking lot, and his brother's neighbor, but he was there just temporarily for work. And she didn't recognize the car, and she didn't know what we were. And she came up to the window, very aggressive. He rolled down the window, and she lit into him. She cussed him out. You're not supposed to say that. I mean, she was like a pit bull, y'all. And I have never in my life, I had never met someone remain so calm. And I'm like, what in the hell did I just witness? He didn't react. And he just told her that his brother was working there and he was coming to visit for the weekend, and she was nasty. She did not want us parked there. And then in the interim, I guess she ran into your brother. Somehow she found out that what he was telling her was true, and she came back and she apologized. And that was just something I had never witnessed. So it taught me, not that one time, over a period of time, y'all, to calm it down, because I'm one of those people that will bit her and her. Yeah, I want to just remain quiet, like, what in the world am I looking at? So that has rubbed off on me to learn to pump my brakes, slow it down. Not all the time. more than I used to be able to. So that rubbed off with me because you're such a kind person and very, very calm and patient. Ooh, yeah. So that has rubbed off on me. And so then you can end with what has rubbed off on you. I know one thing, but I'm gonna see if that's what you're gonna say. I don't know. Let me see what you're gonna say. What you gonna say?
Well, there are probably quite a few. One thing you've definitely taught me is to have more confidence. And I would also say that
To open your mouth.
that's right. I've become more aggressive sometimes when necessary.
Exactly.
Well, I may not have.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Find your voice.
And we meet in the middle.
Yes, and we meet in the middle. Exactly. So it all comes down to love, though. Because that's it. At the end of the day, that's what someone wants is love. So let's sum it up. We said grace. We said communication. We said
Tolerance.
Tolerance or patience.
United front.
United front. Friendship.
Friendship.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, underneath the anger is just someone's hurt. Yeah. Because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to know they're loved. That's it. That's all.
It's a journey about growing together.
Together. So that's our perspective. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, remember there's 86,400 seconds in every day. Make every second count.
Don't waste any of them.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.